What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Merry Christmas Eve. Hopefully, everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test this holiday season, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive for COVID or any other virus at this time, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long term issues. It is time now for the Christmas Eve edition of the Pandemic Update for Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2023. First off, if you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on not only just COVID, but all of the other viruses as well that could be a threat to your health. And there are a lot of viruses out there right now. So if at the end of this video you like what you see, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Believe it or not, being Christmas Eve, we have a lot of things to share with you today. We have news stories. We have some data to catch up on that we did not get to report on when we were out in the wild. So we can do that here today. We're gonna try and keep this under 15 minutes today. India, first off. We're not going back to doing India at the beginning of every update, but it's worth noting India's cases from the JN.1 variant are now starting to rise. India logs, they're saying 656 new COVID-19 infections. Active cases rise to 3,742. You and I both know there's over 1 billion people in India. That number is likely far too low. It's actually probably much higher than that, but I don't think they catch every single case. All right, Australia, speaking of other viruses. South Australians have been warned of a potential tuberculosis outbreak as a positive case may have been exposed to 150 people. Moving on to this now. Here in my city, we're going to see my city twice today. And first, because of not so good news. Philadelphia health officials notify residents of a possible measles exposure. Yes, there has been a potential measles exposure at the Jefferson Health Building located at South 9th Street in downtown Philadelphia. And this happened potentially between 2 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. of Tuesday, December 19th. So if you're watching this video and you were at that health facility during that time, please take note. You may have been exposed to measles. Yeah, that's not a good thing at all. Then we move on to this news story. More than 700 Airbus Atlantic staff are believed to have fallen ill following the company's Christmas dinner. Health authorities in France have said. Yes, more than 700 have fallen ill. That's a rather large amount of people. It sounds like they're having stomach issues. They're not feeling well. It's just a whole slew of things. I'm not seeing the word COVID mentioned here at all. So they can't say it's COVID, but they're just not feeling well at all. It says here vomiting and diarrhea. Yeah. Like I said, stomach issues. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at the air qualities this Christmas Eve across the country. Hopefully where you are, you have good air quality. And it's kind of a mixed picture. I mean, take a look at this. There's actually some pretty poor air quality right now. Going from Wisconsin all the way through the Great Lakes, all the way into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. There's kind of an unsettled pattern. There's a weather disturbance going through. There's some moisture in the air. It's warmer than normal. It's actually 50 degrees here on Christmas Eve in Philadelphia. Not the warmest it's ever been, but it's pretty warm. Taking a look at the West Coast, look at this. Yeah, just the same stuff we've been seeing for a long time. Poor air qualities in the mountainous regions, but even close to San Francisco today, it's not so great either. Taking a look down here near Dallas, not sure what's going on just north of Dallas, but there's a couple bad air qualities there. Also a couple along the Gulf Coast states. Taking a look at Walgreens for this week, as I have to refresh this, and you will notice that Walgreens, the testing was up to 22,167. It's good to see testing up. It's not good enough. Take a look at the national positivity trend. It's 29.2%. The prior week was 29.5%. There was a down 0.3%. We're not going to take a look at any of the states because we have a lot more things to look at. Wastewater. Now, as you know, on a normal Sunday, we would do the wastewater update, but we have to catch up on some other things, which are fairly important to see, but we're just going to do a quick zoom in a couple areas. First off, look at the Great Lakes. Yeah, it's just loaded with red sites. That's not good. The Northeast Corridor is loaded with red sites. You get the idea here. Things are really spreading in the north. Not as many wastewater sites in the south. You can see here. Look up north. I mean, they take it pretty seriously. And you come down south, the sites are few and far in between. And the ones that we do see are still low to just near moderate. I suspect post-Christmas that's going to change. It's starting to change in California now. So a bit more orange this week in California. Oregon, you're still seeing some low blue numbers. And look at this. Red sites across the country, there's 379. Orange sites, which is moderate. I mean, red's really high, but orange is not good either. 448 of them. Yeah, that's not good. All right, continuing on now. Take a look at this. COVID-19 current wastewater viral activity levels map, and you can see here, aside from my state, which is really low, and then some of these states that are not reporting, these dark blues up north are very high, and even the shade just a little bit below that, that's very high. There's a lot of very high sites. California is now high. Texas is now high. Florida is very high, so that's not good to see. So you have high levels of COVID in the wastewater that's going to mix this weekend. Yeah, that's not good, and it does not improve there. We come to this now. We have this map here which shows where COVID is growing or likely growing. It's likely growing in a lot of states. Some are now turned stable. There's a couple that are declining. But then we come down to this. Yeah, influenza. Almost, not all the states. I would say 90% of states now are growing or likely growing. And there's some here that are stable or just don't report at all. But look at this. Yeah, there's some really high levels of influenza going around right now. So it's not just COVID, it's influenza. And remember, RSV is still big. There's been some pneumonia going around. There's a whole bunch of different things. As you just saw, a measles case. So this virus season, it's not going so well. And like we said yesterday, deaths are already rising from all of the viruses. And we haven't even gone through the month of January, which is typically, since COVID started, one of the deadliest months of the year, aside from 2020. 2021, 2022, 2023, it'll be the month with potentially some of the most deaths just because you have all these viruses combined together right now. Continuing on. JN.1 leads the way at 44.2%, HV.1 at 22.1% for COVID variants. Taking a look at hospital admissions right now. Yeah, it's now up to 25,577 in the past week. That's up 10.4%. Remember, it slowed a little bit. Well, now it's starting to gain steam again. I suspect it will continue to do that. And we come down here, you can see these oranges, these yellows. All the orange and yellows, that's where we're seeing significant increases in hospitalizations at this time. Anything that's coming up in green actually does have a decrease, but for the most part, you can see increases are leading the way at this point. Coming back to Philadelphia again, 754 EMS incidents were reported on Saturday. Let's do a live look in at the Philadelphia suburbs since we can. Wish we could do it for more areas, but you know the deal. That's just the only two that I can find. And you can see here, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania is coming up with a respiratory emergency, another respiratory emergency. There's a few calls going on, not a ton. And taking a look at Chester County has a lot of fall calls right now, and also some heart problem calls as well. Going across the Delaware River into New Jersey, we take a look at New Jersey. Only 63 out of 70 hospitals reported, so there's 7 that did not report. Hospitalizations are at 816, ventilators 23, and people in the ICU 106. All right, I do have a surprise for you. Well, actually, no. New York has a surprise for you. Take a look at this. See that right there? December 24th. Yes, a Sunday update on Christmas Eve. They haven't done weekend updates in a long time. But here we are on Christmas Eve. New York State updated. Not just cases, hospitalizations as well. And it's not good. 4,356 new cases. You're probably thinking, well, Mr. Data Report, there's millions of people in New York State. That there are. But remember, this does not include all those unreported at-home tests. So yes, there's a lot of cases right now, and here's more proof of it. Look at the hospitalizations in New York. They've been going up all week. Every single day has been upward. And now they're up to 2,245 hospitalizations in New York State. That number is likely to continue. Wouldn't surprise me if they hit 3,000 before the peak comes. Yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing. Texas. Cases were up significantly this week. 16,087 versus 12,863. That's up by 3,224. Fatalities, 46 versus 45. Hospitalizations, yes, they're up in Texas. 1,425. That's up by 192. Then we come over to Chicago. Chicago this week has 31 people in the hospital. Hospital bed use is up by 3.2%. That, or is upward, I should say. Emergency department visits is up. Laboratory cases, the daily average is now 272 in the city of Chicago. Again, doesn't include those at-home tests. Vaccinations, less people got vaccinated this week with a booster or the vaccination series. 12,524. Deaths remain flat. Colorado, believe it or not, hospitalizations actually dropped to 260. So that's from 260 to 211. So that's a good thing. Then we come over here to the state of Washington, and not much of a change in emergency department visits, and believe it or not, hospital admissions actually dropped a little bit. Number of people in the ICU for COVID in Washington state is at 28. Influenza's at 11, and influenza did rise on all metrics here. RSV did drop some, and there are some indications around the country that the RSV wave has now peaked. Taking a look at Massachusetts. When we take a look at Massachusetts, we see the influenza level. It's now at moderate. That's not good. And the total number of emergency department visits in the last week for some sort of a virus, a respiratory virus, it's up to 15.7%. That is not good, my friends. And now taking a look at California, and we see here California. First off, I have to show you this. Look at influenza. I mean, I get it. COVID's bad right now, but influenza is really going to town in California. 15% positivity. Remember, less people take an influenza test than a COVID test. Influenza deaths, they did start to rise. Now they dropped a little bit. Hospital admissions are continuing to rise. COVID testing, it's up. COVID hospital admissions, they're up. Again, this being the state of California. Now let's see what's going on in the Los Angeles metro area. And we see that in Los Angeles, take a look at this. Yeah, not good. LA is seeing a big increase in hospitalizations right now. They're now up to 601. Will that number reach 1,000? Not certain if it will, but wouldn't surprise me because JN.1 is not yet dominant there. And we saw what happens in New York State. When JN.1 goes dominant, I'll show you right here, hospitalizations start going up faster. You can see where it happened. Somewhere between the 15th and the 18th, it went dominant there. And that's when New York State started rapidly rising. All right, finally for today, I have to show you this. Influenza levels. They're rising from the south to the north, and you can see they're starting to be more orange in the north, and even some red, which is moderate to high levels. Not all states are at moderate yet, but it's starting. And eventually all states will be, if not worse. So flu, it's out there. I know some people do have the flu right now. It's not good. New York City is already at very high levels. That's not good. Here's your best friend for all these viruses. And if you want to disagree with me, that's fine, but here's your best friend. N95 or better mask. It will help you prevent yourself and prevent you from giving your family COVID, RSV, influenza, pneumonia, all these different viruses that are spreading out there. It will help keep you safe. Alrighty guys, that is all I have for you today on this Christmas Eve. Yes, there will be a Christmas Day update tomorrow. We'll probably just look at a bunch of wastewater. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some news. We'll see. You know, this is a very fluid situation. Things change daily. Things are not changing for the better right now. But let's forget about that for a moment. It's Christmas Eve. Let's try and make the best of it. Maybe you're going to have a Christmas Eve quarantine. Maybe you're going to have just a very small get-together. Like what I'm going to be doing, just a small get-together with some family members this evening. Try and stay safe. Try and have a good time. Remember, ventilation is your key. HEPA air purifier is one behind me. I'm not having it here, but HEPA air purifier. Give some ventilation. If you can't get outside, open those windows a little bit. Get a little bit of ventilation. Make sure masking is a part of your routine. Make sure before you do anything, you take a COVID test to make sure that you're negative, because it is very important to check to see that you're negative before you do anything. If you've already been exposed to someone, or if you know that you are sick, please do not have your gathering. Do not go to your gathering. use Zoom, use Skype, use FaceTime, some sort of a virtual format would be your best bet. Alrighty, folks, have a fantastic Christmas Eve. I will see you guys all again tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Christmas.